I'm here today with Kate Lester, Managing Director of Diamond Logistics, who has been named Entrepreneur of the Year. Thanks very much for joining me today.
You're very welcome.
With the increase in profits of £1,000 to £150,000 over the 18-month period, how did you increase the profits by so much?
Well, we've pretty much doubled turnover. I think that's really important. And I also shifted from a depot-led network to a franchise basis. And one of the reasons for that was that I felt that management in depots weren't necessarily making very profitable decisions. But when you turned it into a franchise perspective, in fact, one of the old depot managers actually purchased that from me. He started making decisions that were more profit-led because he was motivated to do so within the business. So that's fundamentally the reason for the reinstatement of our profits and the increase of the turnover.
Great. And belated congratulations on the award.
Thank you.
What does the award mean to you?
Lots, actually. It was really good to be the winner of the inaugural sort of Entrepreneur of the Year in the Entrepreneurs Convention. I was really proud of that. I was one of 6 finalists, the only female. I think that speaks reams for female entrepreneurialism within the UK. To be honest, I think my kids were dead proud, and my mum and dad think I've got a proper job.
Fantastic. Getting on to the theme in women in business, we now only have 2 female chief executive officers of FTSE 100 companies. I wondered what your thoughts and opinions were on this situation.
I think there is going to be a demand, which by the looks of it is going to be actually led by investors, whereby, as far as I recall, they're actually going to be asking for a certain percentage of women to actually be on FTSE boards. And I think that's actually going to lead the recruitment of those kind of resources. The companies haven't taken the initiative and done it themselves. Meritocracy hasn't worked, and quota system hasn't worked. So now, when it's the shareholders that are actually demanding it, then maybe we're actually going to see the appropriate balance, because it's been shown that those companies are considerably more stable. It's been shown that having the different assets in the board makes them more viable and indeed more profitable. So it's about time that the rest of the FTSE took note, really.
Great. And with your 21 years of business experience in mind, what are the main factors that you feel are holding more women in business back? Are there anything specific that you would be able to outline?
I think it's a life balance thing. It's very much the women wanting to have children and the sacrifices that one has to make. I think also it's the cost of women actually being able to progress their careers whilst they've got young children, particularly once you've got more than one. That's very expensive. So if you want to see more women in business, then make childcare tax deductible.
And how have you been able to do that in your personal life, balance the working and family life?
Because I had my own business, then it was very possible for me to have the children within the business. So if there were school holidays, then they'd be coming out with me on meetings. If they ever had a cold, there's been many a board meeting whereby I've had 2 snivelling children in the corner. And that's sort of gone down as part of my sort of business persona, really, that it's been very much sort of kids in tow. And I've had that flexibility and adaptivity. I don't know how women on PAYE job roles that are that demanding actually manage it. But I started my business and conceived my daughter in the same week, so they've been very much part of my business journey. I would say I've been able to super accelerate my business success in the last couple of years when my children have been older, i.e. at A-level and university age, because I felt that I haven't had to split my focus between the 2 of them. And maybe that is a bit of the answer as to why there's so few ladies in the FTSE. In the end, you've got to decide where your focus is going to be. And if you want to focus 100% in your career, then there's going to be other elements of your life that are actually going to take the hit for that. Perhaps men don't have those sort of challenges so much.
Great. We're coming out the tail end of the recession right now, and the government talks a lot about young people in particular, but everyone else looking for their own employment opportunities. And one opportunity is setting up your own business. How feasible do you think that is for the population of people who may be unemployed or people actually looking to go down that route?
I think it's very, very possible. And I'll cite myself as a case study. I started my business when I was 20 years old with absolutely nothing. And 21 years later, we've obviously got a nationwide infrastructure. and turning over multiple millions of pounds, the reality is that the entry level to self-employment in many professions is actually incredibly low. So that makes it incredibly viable for people. And I think when you're sort of young and youthful and you've got the motivation to do so, as long as you're given a lot of guidance with regards to the correct running of the business, and you can find a lot of resources like the Prince's Trust, for example. They've got a lot of free resources which are really helpful with the creation of your business plan. So you've got a lot of resources available, you've got a low entry level, and there's an awful lot of professions that you could establish your own business in. So I think it's a really viable way for getting people, on the path of entrepreneurialism, and also that great sense of self-fulfillment of being the purveyor of their own destiny as well. So, I mean, I'm fundamentally unemployable, so I had to be self-employed, and, it's been a great life choice for me, so I thoroughly recommend it.
Great, fantastic. And if someone came to you tomorrow and asked what the main point to take away from setting up your own business, what would the advice that you would give them?
If at all possible, don't draw everything out of it that you need to. Invest the money that you need to in order for the business to expand properly first. That was one of the things that I'd probably say would be a challenge for people going from a pretty broke perspective like I was when I was 20, or a young kid sort of like starting their entrepreneurial journey, whereby you're having to create the money within the business in order to survive. If I'd been able to hold money in the business in order for it to expand properly, then it probably wouldn't have taken me 20 years in order to do what I've done to it now. It's only in the last couple of years that I've actually had the money to finance it properly and take it from this big to this big.
Great. Thanks very much for your time today.
Thank you.